Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you remember, a couple episodes ago, I released a video on an ARB compressor install that I'd done. So today, we're here to give it a bit of a rundown comparison to the Kings Dominator, the Thumper Max, the twin compressor one. We'll get into the video. So what's the purpose of today's video? It's basically to get an understanding of a true comparison between this compressor and the ARB compressor that I've got in the back. Now, there are heaps of other videos on YouTube on this. Now, there's a lot of Americans that are doing the similar videos, but they're talking bar. There's all sorts of other comparisons really, and I just want to try and make this as neutral as possible to give everyone a good understanding of how this compressor relates to the other compressor and which one's better and why is this one so much more cheaper than that one. And the results, I technically don't know the results, but I've got an idea of which one is faster, and for a lot of you guys it might blow your mind as to why it's faster. Anyway, with that, we'll get into it. Now, why did I end up with this compressor and how did I get here? So the main reason behind it is when I picked up this car, I needed something to pump up my tyres. Now I already had that compressor. Now the reason why I didn't actually get it installed straight away is to do with I was never happy with how I had it installed in my previous vehicle. I've tried all sorts of different ways, toolboxes, behind the seat, in the canopy, off one battery versus another battery. Yeah, so anyway, so in terms of experiences, I've done my time with the experiences on the ARB compressor, and I've also had my experiences, my good and my bad, on the Thumper Maxes prior to owning one of those ARB compressors. And my previous experience is mutual, and the reasoning for that is I use all the gear that you see here a lot. So my previous Kings compressor wore out well before the warranty period had gone up. Now I would say that was due to the amount of use and the climate and the environment that I would use it in. Anyway, so with that, open up the bag, you get plenty of pockets in here. You get your hose, you don't get the quick release chuck that you would do to pump up a tyre. The biggest con about this compressor is that, because if you're pumping a tyre up on the opposite corner of your car, you've got to walk all the way around to here to turn your compressor off to be able to check this gauge. Now Kings do sell one of the button style ones so you can pump up your tyres, and I think they go for about 20 or 30 bucks, so they're not really that dear in a comparison. But for instance, I think I paid about 130, 140 bucks for this compressor. You can pick them up a little bit less than that when they've got specials on. Anyway, so that's in my opinion the biggest con. The other upgrade that I would suggest for people to do is to change this out for a proper equipped Anderson plug and wire up an Anderson connection, like it might be on your bonnet. So in your bonnet or on your bull bar. Make sure it's fused though. Make sure you go and see your reputable local auto sparky and get the correct size cabling and fusing. The only other thing I would also suggest is cabling is a little bit undersized for the compressor as well. So this is something else to bear in mind. If you're pumping up really big tyres, the cabling can get a little bit warm. Probably a little bit too warm in terms of my recommendations. So the other thing is, so I'm going to starting off with this tyre here. We're going to be working out from 15 psi up to 40. That's a rough sort of pressures that I would normally run to let my tyres down here in the southwest of Western Australia. The beaches are pretty soft, so normally that's my go-to pressure. I do run them a lot lower, but other beaches I can run them higher as well. And 40 psi is a rough area of where a lot of people run their tyre pressures at. It's not what I run mine at on the highway, but a lot of people run tyre pressures somewhere around that sort of figure. So that's the reason why I'm going with those two figures, because it's relevant to me and it's relevant to what I would think is considered to a lot of other people. Anyway, so we'll get into it, get the car started, pop the bonnet, we'll get into it. So the next thing that I'm going to be doing to try and help with this, obviously you can argue that the condition of my battery might impair one compressor over the other as the voltage drops. So I'm going to be starting out with the Kings compressor for doing this task first. Technically over time that battery will deplete. I'm going to use the idle up feature that the cruisers have, and to try and eliminate the amount of amps that battery will drop by. I will also wait a couple minutes in between the two tyres as I drop the tyre pressure back down for the second inflation, and that'll try and help deplete, or say bring that battery back up to its correct voltage. Right, so I'll use the recording from this as an indication as to how long it's going to take. 3, 2, 1, go. Done. There we go, 40 psi. There we go. So that was about just under the 2-minute mark. Anyway, so I'll deflate that again back to 15 psi, and I'll check that on the other compressor. So I just wanted to give you an idea. I've just chucked that straight on, and that's at 37 psi, so that's already 3 psi less than 40. Anyway, So I'll let the other one down to 15 psi on the other gauge, and then I'll chuck it up to 37 psi to be the same. As you can see, that's at 15.5 psi, so I'll just take another little bit out of that. There we go, and that's at 15 psi. So I'll go ahead, chuck the ARB compressor onto that, and we'll give that another record. Righto, so I just wanted to give you an idea. That other pressure gauge is exactly what I thought it was, difference compared to the ARB compressor, which is 1 psi at 15. So that gauge reads 1 psi less than what's in it at 15 psi. So it's exactly what I was saying earlier. I'm not too sure how far it's out at 40, but anyway, so I'm going to pump it up and using this gauge to 37 because that's what it was at when we pulled that other compressor off. Go. I'll pull it off now. That's at 34 psi. So we've got another 3 psi to go. And stop. So that's at 38.5 psi, so I've overshot it by 1.5 psi, so it's close enough for a bit of a comparison. Anyway, so when I get home, I'll have a look at the footage and I'll put the results onto the screen now to give you guys a bit of a comparison idea as to how it went. So now I've gone through my pros and cons with the Kings compressor. I want to go through pros and cons with this one just to get a little bit more of a fair comparison, because obviously I've nailed the other one and I've said what it's good for, which is it is fast, especially for the price. You break it, you go out, you buy another one, and so forth, and it's cheap enough to not even have to worry about the warranty. Now, one of the biggest cons with this is definitely the price. Not everyone's going to be able to afford one. It is certainly an out there pricing. The fact that it's not DIY realistically, because you can buy the DIY kit which comes in a box with alligator clips, but it's not the realistically ideal way of doing it. So as you can see here, I've done all the wiring myself. I've got a really good understanding on wiring. I've got a background in it as well. Anyway, so what I've done, run it from the engine bay, running some cable into here, and it's obviously fused in the engine bay as well. I've got my switch here. Now, so what I like about this compressor is the fact that you can rebuild it, buy all the parts, and some parts are readily available. Like, so when I went to chuck this compressor back in here in my previous install, one of the relays for one of the motors had actually stopped working. Now that relay I had laying around in my shed, to give you an idea. So I just went and grabbed another relay for it. So to give you a bit of an idea how far I've pushed this compressor, in my previous car I did flood this compressor with water. It's been in my cab, it's been in my canopy, it's been in a toolbox which was leaking full of water, which leads me back to why this is in here. So this here is a moisture absorber. Now all I've done is I've put it inside a sandwich box and drilled holes in the box, so therefore the absorber doesn't get ripped apart in here. So I've done that to make sure there's no moisture inside this box, to try and prolong the durability of this compressor. Now the Kings compressor is good, don't get me wrong, but when you just want to replace a part, or it's broken down in the middle of nowhere and you can fix this compressor, it does lead a bit of a mind for its own as to what compressor you will go back to. If you're not so mechanically minded, like you also just go out to the beach like for Christmas time or odd trips like that, then this would be definitely a bit of an overkill in a comparison to the Kings compressor, for the sake of, you know, just over $100 and you get a compressor that's in the speed of this compressor. Yeah, so please like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll try and get some more content out like this. I'm trying to do videos every 2 weeks. If you do want to see me modify that Kings compressor to make it either, from the videos that I've seen, I don't know if you can make it faster, from my understanding. But the one thing I do know you can do is increase the reliability of that compressor. So if you want to see that, please comment down below. It's probably not going to be anytime soon that I'll get around to it. It's probably going to be closer to Christmas time before I even get a look in on it. It might be sooner, but that'll be probably a bit of an idea, to give you guys a bit of an idea of where I'd probably go with that compressor in the future. I'm not going to sell it. It's only worth $100 realistically, or probably not even that. So to me, I may as well just have a bit of fun with it. Anyway, we'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.